Yo guys, we're back with the M2 for a new video today. She's going to be getting some nice little upgrades, mainly to the brakes. I took it on track last week, Oulton Park in the UK, and it was a blast, really enjoyed it. However, probably 5-6 laps in, I got bad brake fade. Looking at the state of these front discs, you could probably imagine why. They're like crumbling at the bottom and there's a massive lip on the top. So pedal was starting to judder, it was getting really spongy, not good. So immediately when I got back, I ordered some new brake bits. So we've got new discs, new pads. The pads are actually not too bad, but you know, we're going for some track pads. We've got some lowering springs and some wheel spacers. So all 4 corners are getting done. I'll show you the bits now. So here's all the parts. We've got genuine BMW discs, front and rear. The rear discs are actually okay, but while I'm doing a brake job, I want everything to be fresh and new at once. So we've got front rear discs. We've got these new Padgett Street Plus brake pads. I've been told these are fairly new and they've come recommended to try out, so that's what we're going with today. They're like a street / track pad, occasional track, because I do still daily the M2, so I don't want something that's going to be heavily track focused. So we're going for those pads. We've got new Goodrich brake lines because these handle the heat a lot better than the stock rubber ones. So these are going on, and here's the lowering springs. EIBACH said to have lowered it, I think 22mm in the front and 20mm in the back. It could be the other way around, I can't remember. But we're putting some lowering springs on it because, in all honesty, as good as she was on the track, I didn't really, other than the brakes, I didn't really have any issues. I just feel like lower centre of gravity should make it handle a lot better. I was going to go for coilovers, but I didn't really want to spend all that money straight away because they're a couple £1,000. So for a couple £100, I got some lowering springs. We're going to try them, and if I do need coilovers in the future, we'll take the plunge and obviously get some. And then we're doing a full brake fluid flush. We've got this Motul RBF 660. It's supposed to handle the heat a lot better than the OEM brake fluid, so we're doing a coolant flush, and we've got some wheel spacers to widen it out a little bit, and obviously to go with the lowering springs, it should make the look of the M2 that much better. So yeah, those are all the bits. Let's get the car jacked up, and we're going to start with the lowering springs first. Once they're done, we'll hit the brake job. Okay guys, so I've moved the BMW from over here to over here. It's a little bit more flat, the ground a bit more even. So we've got it jacked up, and we'll whack all the wheels off. Make sure before you jack it up, unloosen your wheel nuts, or you're gonna have a hard time getting them off. Yeah, so she's on the jack stands. We've got 2 jacks, one in the front, one in the back. She's safe, she's secure, she's not going anywhere. So I'll whap all the wheels off and get on to removing the strut towers. Okay, so to start with the strut towers, we're going to want to get them exposed. So let's take these little pop clips out. And so once you've got the top of the cover off, you want to grab some sort of pass-through socket or wrench and unloosen this bolt. Like that, and then you want to go down underneath, and so you want to jack up the knuckle so it's supported before you undo that bolt, and we're going to be taking out this nut here, so the one on the top and this nut, and that's going to drop the whole spring assembly down, and also remove any cables or wires that are in the way so nothing catches and snatches on you and potentially breaks. Okay, so now I've dropped the strut and dropped the knuckle, you should be able to pull this down a bit and manoeuvre the strut out. And I'm just going to quickly get a cloth to put over the front so I don't damage anything on the car. Okay, so we can uncover this now, and obviously we want to get the spring out, so pop that from in there and twist this out of the carrier at the bottom, and the spring should pop right off. There we go. That's one spring out. I think we'll get the new spring on this one before we move on to the other side, so that when we put the next one on it'll probably be a bit easier for us. Okay, so here we have the new spring, EIBACH. If you compare it to the OEM, hell of a lot tighter, shorter spring. So basically we want to just reverse what we just did. So I wonder if you could take this boot off. No, maybe I could try and keep it on. Yeah, it's probably easier just trying to keep it on. Now, obviously the bottom slid in a certain way, so you've got to put it back the way it came. I believe it's like so. Yep, fits in the groove. Hopefully you can see. So, fits in that slide groove at the bottom. Should match up on both sides and hit the stop there on the rubber, as you can see. Okay, so the spring's in place, we've got both stops. Now it's basically time to just put it all back same way you got it out. That's the spring fitted, not too bad of a job. So both front ones are now done. Hopefully it's not too dark, you can see that. Got the new EIBACH springs on the front. All the bolts are back in, covers back on, hunky dory. Going to move on to the rears now. You just want to support your cross member here. You want to sort of raise that up because you're going to be replacing this spring here. You want to undo this nut and the one there at the back. Take those out and then you can drop your jack. This spring will come out and just fit the new one. A lot easier. Okay everybody, this was probably the worst decision of my life, to try and do these springs on jack stands on the floor. Absolute nightmare. I would highly advise anybody thinking of doing this who doesn't have a lift or a ramp, don't bother, because it's an absolute nightmare. What makes it more of a nightmare is these bolts being like super tight and having like zero room to put like a breaker bar in. So it's been a nightmare. I had to cut the filming because the camera died, but we've got one in. Now I'm going to show you on the other side what you need to do, and then I'll show you how the spring goes in. So you want to jack the suspension arm up slightly. It's going to make getting that bolt at the back out a lot easier. Also, if you've got an M2, you don't need to do this, but if you've got an M2 Competition, you need to do this. Drop the exhaust. There'll be 2 hangers this end, and if you can see, a hanger right about there on both sides, so 4 hangers. You have to drop the exhaust to get that bolt out, otherwise it just hits the valves, and just dropping it doesn't work. You've got to pull that bolt out while pushing down on the exhaust. So like I say, this on the floor on jack stands is an absolute nightmare. I would never do this again unless I had a lift. If I had a lift, I've got free reign to move my arms as much as I like, I've got loads of room, blah blah blah. But anyway, we can't stop now. We've done one side, we've got to do the other. So you're going to need a breaker bar on this 21mm bolt, and this one here is an 18. You don't need to remove this one, just them two. The arm will drop and the spring will come out. Hopefully I'll be able to film it happening, but apologies if not. It's really hard to film and do this at the same time. Okay, so now both the bolts are out. Should be able to drop the jack and you'll see the arms fall down. And there we go. Once the arm's out, you can just take the spring straight out, like so. And probably will be easier if you take the top mount rubber, the top of the spring rubber out to spread onto the new one, and then you can just simply lift it up and it pops right in. There's also one in the bottom of the control arm. Keep that one in where it is, and we're going to put the spring into that. So now that's off, let's get the new spring. So, got that situated in there. Let's get the spring in. Okay, so that's the new spring in. What a ball ache it is to put this control arm back in. If I were you, definitely have a friend to help, because this on your own is so difficult. But I think a two-man band would help out a lot, I imagine.
One eternity later.
Boom. So that's it, guys. All springs are on. Both the rears, both the fronts. Gonna have to put the exhaust back up where it was, and then that's it for the suspension. We'll hit the brakes. Right, so it's a few days later. Everything's now done. Had a little bit of an issue with the brakes. I, like an idiot, don't know if anybody noticed, I put the discs on the wrong way. So they have fins in the side of the disc here, at like the face of it. They have fins that point in a certain direction for the cooling. Now I don't know if it's like super important, but with the nature of me tracking this, I need my brakes to be as cool as possible. So when the fins are facing the wrong way, the airflow won't direct the correct way that it was designed to from the factory. So I realised that I had to pull, basically once the pads were in, I could just hang the caliper and swap the disc from left to right. So it wasn't actually that bad, but it was the fact that I bolted everything up and then realised, and I thought, oh my god, nightmare. But you know, it wasn't too bad. I actually got the fronts and the backs the wrong way around. Of course, knowing my luck, I would have put it the wrong way around just by chance, but hey, well, it's all sorted now. So yeah, I've took it on a test drive. As you can see, they're not it's a few days later, so they're not as clean as you might have seen in the footage before. I've given, you know, a good bedding in on the pads, as you can see down there. Yeah, the pads are bedded in, feels really good, so much better than it was on the track day that I did, when the pedal was juddering and really bad brake fade. So yeah, brakes done, they were all bled. Pedal feels good, it's nice, there's a good bite on it, and if you can see by the spacers, she's sitting really nice with the springs lowering it down and the spacers bringing it out a little bit. I'm like really happy with the way it looks. See if we can get a little side view. It's not as good as what a set of coilovers would be, but I mean, it's not too shabby. I think it looks nice. It actually looks better from the rear, because you can really see the meat sticking out. Yeah, I think it's a must for an M2, especially if you're tracking it. Just these only cost me like £190 for the springs, and the spacers are what, maybe 50-60 quid. So it's way cheaper than a set of coilovers. And if you're tracking on a budget, just get the springs, get the coilovers, sorry, get the springs, get the spacers, and you'll feel a difference. I've already felt a difference from driving just on the road, so next track day is going to be interesting. So yeah, there we have it. They're already starting to show a little bit of a, I don't know what you call it, it's like a, it's not rust, but where the oxidation gets to it on the edges. So they look way better than they did before. They were cracking and breaking on the edges. So yeah, better performance, and now it looks a little bit nicer with the shiny discs. So yeah, not gonna lie, it was a difficult one for someone like me. I'm not a mechanic. I learn all this myself by experience and by doing and watching a couple of videos. So yeah, it's it was a challenge, but it's done. I did it on a set of jack stands on the floor, so it's definitely doable. If you guys are thinking of trying this, I'd say do it. I live in the UK, so we get bad weather, so the amount of times it rained on me while trying to do this was so frustrating. So if you can get it inside, I've now got a new workshop, so I could have done that, but it wasn't ready at the time. So if you can get it inside, get it on side on a set of jack stands and just take your time. There's nothing you can't do. What else? I also got the new tyres on the front. It's the Falcons, same as what were on the rear. I just wanted to match, because the previous owner put Falcons on the rear but it had Michelin's on the front. Now they were nearly brand new, so I thought I'd match the fronts to the back. And when we burn through a set of these, I think we'll go for a more aggressive track tyre than a road tyre. But yeah, thank you for watching the video. If you haven't got any tips for what I might have done wrong or what I could have done better, leave them in the comments. I'm sure there'll be people watching that are laughing at some of the stuff I might have done, but it's my first go at brakes, so I'm pretty proud of how it's come out. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.